Good morning, everyone. This is Nadex Morning Analysis. It is January 8th, 2021. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. Before Brian and I talk about a couple of hot spots you might want to look at in the markets today, I need to share our disclaimer. This session is sponsored by our compliance department. Trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. Any trading decisions you make are solely at your own responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education. So with that, I know, Brian, we've got a few things that are sort of mingling in the background. I know that we've got some more news on what's going on with the global pandemic around COVID. I know that we've had some economic news this morning. The unemployment rate came out here in the U.S. We've still got, things may be calming down in the U.S. political environment, but, I wouldn't expect that to dissipate 100%. So we've got all that going on. Maybe you could tee us up with just a little bit on what we're seeing, a little bit around that, and then maybe what, just it hasn't been that terribly impactful to U.S. equities. But let's just talk about that.
Yeah, so obviously this is the first Friday of the month, so we have the non-farm payroll data. Recently, I'd say in the last 6 months to a year, with the ADP data coming on a Wednesday, it's kind of given us a little bit of a foreshadow, and we don't necessarily have as big of an on Fridays as we used to have. But again, there's situations where we actually had more of a split release. So we had U.S. data, all out at the same time. Right now, looking at the 24-hour pip changes you're seeing in the currency kind of global realm, not really a change. It's pretty flat for 24 hours. What I mean by is you have one negative, one positive. So there's no real kind of true indication. As far as U.S. numbers came in, this was about 60,000 jobs are created in December. That was kind of on par with what they expected to see on Wednesday as well. And Wednesdays came in twice as bad, but negative. And this kind of came in just the same thing. A little bit worse than twice, but in the other direction at 140. So not great, but it became split with the unemployment rate not going higher. Now, I'm going to actually drag in daily effects as well. They actually have a couple different little rankings in here. But one of the things that I want to kind of point out is the participation rate. The problem with some of the unemployment past, and looking at the rate has always been, what is the participation rate? I know during the first recovery, they were talking about, we have this much, this recovery is great. We're lowering the unemployment. And the problem was that the participation rate was also dropping. So it was kind of a false number. Seeing that the participation rate stayed exactly the same at 65.1, and yet the unemployment rate was here, and we lost 140,000 jobs, not necessarily the best of environments for gold. Actually, gold and silver, both of them took major hits in the last 24 hours. As you mentioned as well, we are seeing, obviously, COVID is still rearing its head. Where is it down here? This actually was in the Asian Times talking about how Brazil is seeing very uncomfortable reminders of back when it was at its worst.
Right.
Talking about, freezer trucks. They're talking about California in here just deployed 166 refrigerated trailers. Remember, gold is typically the hedge for inflation. When the economy runs too hot, gold goes crazy. None of this environment is really great. Couple that with, again, I think at this point, most of the political stuff is gone. New administration's here in 12 days. And then I think at that point, there's messages of trying to heal on both sides and understand both sides. So again, I don't think we're going to hear too much more negativity out of that at this point. Again, with everything rolling forward, we're starting to hear about trade deals with Biden and the EU and things like that, with EU and China. So again, really the story is going back to gold. And, here's what we've seen in gold in really the last 48 hours.
Wow.
Major spike down. Again, another major spike this morning, starting at, let's see, the major spike came around, 2-3 o'clock when the UK traders got on board. Again, blew right through a line, right through a gap. It's bouncing off levels down here at 1875 right now. Again, it actually may stabilize. In 30 minutes, we'll see retail trader how they react, how they feel about the unemployment data. But for the most part, at this point, losing jobs is not necessarily good for an economy. And again, for gold to go higher, it's going to need some type of inflationary measures. Now, the one, again,
I know where this is going.
Taking the other side of the coin, with things being this bad, with jobs being lost, we will hear about a stimulus package, another
Right.
one. Biden said Biden says if the Senate was flipped, you will see that $2,000 check because there's no way to stop them, right? Now that that's done, that's through. Again, with the data being the way that it is, I would expect that we would hear in the next 12 days, some rumors of it going through. It could be the first bill that Biden signs. And I'll tell you right now, if all of a sudden we start getting $2,000 stimulus checks, that feeds directly. That's fuel into the fire for inflation to
Right.
the gold side. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can continue to see gold kind of level here, base a bit lower, and really try to find something maybe on a higher time frame. This is a 4-hour chart. Try to find some place to kind of not only stabilize itself, put a bottom in, but then provide kind of a springboard for this additional stimulus that he says, and he said, if this happens, you're going to get a $2,000 check. Well, it's happened. The market's going to have to prepare for it. And again, we're going to see where buyers come in on a technical basis. But right now, I'd say this 1875 is an interesting level. There's been many buyers here. It will probably roll down a little bit, but there may be some buying opportunity going into the weekend. But I think a major level to look out for is going to be this 1854 to 1844. It's the last time that, again, we were able to manage 2 spikes down and immediate responses back to the top side. So that's kind of my macro picture for gold right now.
So let's take a quick look over at the Nadex platform on gold. I mean, here we are. We had that level way up above at 1930 that you had actually kind of called out if there was opportunities that sellers would step in, and you were right about that. And then it just kind of melted lower, and then the news has come out, and we've got these 2 levels. The first level you've got this. I mean, this one goes back a ways. This 1875 level, but then it's interesting because this level that you'd put in before, it's hit it twice already today, and then down below is this level that goes way back, and here we are.
Yeah, I think it's December 12th. I think was originally where some of these levels were formed. Yeah.
So I mean, we're going back a ways, but I really do. I think that this is this is the hot spot in the market today. People are going to be talking about gold. I mean, you could see it's come down here. It bounced off this level once. It bounced off it again. I don't know if it's going to come back down, but again, these things have a way. They have a way of pushing them lower, but it does create potential buying opportunities at some point. It's something to be looking at for sure on Sunday night. I
think a lot of this story is that, remember, it is Friday afternoon. This has been a heck of a week for everybody. Seeing these numbers, it's kind of like, in my time, we've never seen what we saw this week. So it's kind of like, abbreviated session. We got 3 hours left of the UK being open. Once they're done, it's just the United States. A lot of people I think may want to roll this into next week and be like, hey, this week will become like 2020 was. People are like, I can't wait to be over, and let's start with next week fresh. So I think Sunday night is going to have some great trading opportunities this week.
Yeah, don't we get a 1 week return policy?
Yeah, right. On 2020 for 7 days. Yeah.
I want to return 21. I want a new one.
Right.
This one's defective.
Right.
So in gold, be looking at that 1876-ish level where it's bounced a couple of times, and then down below 20 bucks lower, 1856-ish. You could be looking at knockouts. The other way to go would be binary options. Again, for today, there's probably some quick short-term trading opportunities. Binaries or knockouts could be a clean way to play that. But it's definitely something teed up for Sunday. So I think gold's going to be in play for a little bit. Along with gold, we're
silver
seeing
as well.
Something similar in silver. So let's talk about silver.
So silver, we've had a couple different levels that we've talked about. And again, over our Tuesday sessions, over our morning sessions, a couple different levels in here, a couple different of those, again, quote Harry Potter trades that, these breakthroughs on the bottom side. And we've seen that, we saw a break of the 2665. Again, we had kind of the false breakout here, no entry. And then this one kind of came back and then again blew through from its, you guys can see if I extend this the white across. There was the drop, there was the pullback, and there was the continued fall through. So, I mean, both of these were breaks that we had talked about. The 2691, we collapsed through. Now, this is in the same situation, where we look back, we're kind of approaching a gap area. We've had people step in. Really, for silver, just to kind of keep them both on par, the way that it's looking right now, it also looks like it wants to continue to drive lower. We can see, and again, I'll drop it down to a lower time frame so we can get a little bit better of a view here. But you can see that we've had some of these lows getting, lower. It pulled back and then it pushed again. So right now the major pivot is higher, but we're kind of running into an area where with the US trader coming along, if they want to add negativity, it looks like it may be another opportunity to roll down. And we really don't have, I would say, amazing buyers really stepping in until this 25.80. We had a gap over here. And again, on an hourly basis, you can see that we had this very large area of buyers and sellers. Actually, buyers down here, sellers up top right above. But I think right now in silver, areas that I'm looking for, and I'll remove this risk of reward tool up here. I would say right now, my main focus for this one would be really in this range. Again, placing, if we're able to rally back up again, we know that this basically $27 figure is an area where sellers stepped in a major way and drove this down basically over $1 in less than 2 hours. So again, major area of sellers, and same thing on the bottom side. You can see we had a lot of green over here. So 25.80 is actually where the kind of buyers step in. Now, do I think we'll be able to get down? Probably not today. Maybe we can slowly grind higher for next week. But I think both of these levels, both $27 and this 25.80, need to be kept in context. That if we can get there early next week, or if something happens crazy over this weekend, and we have a gap into those two areas, I think either of those are great opportunities as well. And like I said, may not be a today thing, probably not. I would have to say I'm more bearish today, this position. But going into next week on Sunday night, if there's any type of a gap or any type of quotes about the way that healing starts is with stimulus, this could have some major movement very, very fast.
All right, let's jump over quickly to the Nadex platform and let's look at silver. Here I'm bringing up binary options, and the reason I want you to, these are the weekly ones. You're going to have slightly different choices in the daily ones, but the levels are all here on the chart. The point being is all these binary options, they're either going to go to 0 or 100, and if you're looking for an opportunity for maybe a little bit of a breakdown today and a continuation of this sell-off, there could be some interesting ways to potentially play this from the short side. Again, defined risk, defined reward. Again, everything goes to 0 or 100. You can always trade out of your position. But then it would be an opportunity maybe over the weekend, depending upon what's going on and what you hear, when we list new weeklies, to potentially take the other side of the trade. If we're lower, it might be something where you wanted to potentially take a long position looking for that bounce. If we're going to see some news or information regarding stimulus checks, which would potentially drive inflation, which would certainly play into the metals.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very interested to see what the Sunday prints are for some of the weekly contracts. I think there could be some. I think next week is going to be pretty interesting because it'll be, basically 1 week to go with a change of administration. Obviously, there's the whole kind of, switch over the transition team. So I think there's a lot of data there.
All right. Is there while we got everyone still around?
Yeah, might as well just go over it real quick because we mentioned it the last couple of days. Basically because, obviously the Canadian economy also had some data. They were expected to lose jobs. They lost twice as much, but their unemployment rate also stayed. It went up, but it wasn't as bad as what they thought. It only gone up 0.1 versus 0.2. The Canadian dollar, we had drawn this earlier in the week talking about we've had a level of basing. We were kind of looking for the same scenario where we're looking for a break of a zone, just like what we just saw in silver and gold. Really a break of this 126.62. And I kind of drew this and I said, hey, listen, if price comes down and basis across, we're looking for a break. And it did. You guys can see I missed it by about an hour and a half where I drew my kind of bottom. It came down, and as you can see, it is now basing along the top of that level. And it's an area where we've had buyers in the past step in. Every time it touches this level, the buyers have saved it. But these buyers don't last forever. So I'm looking for a break of 126.62. I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback. And again, it may bounce off this area of demand here. Pull up, grab that level, and push lower. And again, it may do it today. It may drive down, and this could be something that opens in this level. Or if it just rides along the top, again, it is Friday. There is no more additional news today. It may just continue to kind of meander back and forth and stay in this level. If we gap lower on Sunday night and rally up to fill that gap, that could also be a signal for me to take this one short over the weekend and do a Sunday night gap strategy.
All right, that's great. And yeah, definitely with gold moving around, and it impacts oil.
Yeah, and this is an oil trade as well. Yep.
And so take a look at the U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar, and how oil is impacting that. So Brian and I will be back next week, Monday and Tuesday. If you got any questions for Nadex, you can email us, please, customerservice@nadex.com. I also chatted out a link to a Trustpilot. We're asking if you could please give us some reviews on Trustpilot. We would really greatly appreciate it. It's a tool that we're trying to build up and get some feedback on. So I put out the link. Go to trustpilot.com/review/nadex.com. It would be greatly appreciated. If you got any questions for Brian, you can reach him. You can email him. He is very accessible. support@keeptradingsimple.com. With that, we've got 15 minutes until the equity opens. Equities open here in the U.S. It's Friday. It's the end of the first week of the trading year, and I think next week you've got some ideas on what you can be looking at when we start on Sunday night. Thank you all. We'll catch you Monday. Good luck in the markets.